The temporary ceasefire that the president said he had convinced Prime Minister Netanyahu to put in place to get the Renans out. Can you tell us more about that? Was it localized? Was it for a short period of time? Just anything about the parameters of that?
No, I won't go into the details of that since we're going to be trying to see what we can do to get additional temporary pauses, humanitarian pauses in place. But in order to move hostages from where they were being held to safety, it does require a short pause in the fighting so that you can do it safely. I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, it would be completely unsafe and irresponsible if you weren't trying to find some safe passage for a hostage that you got released while there's an area of combat going on.
Andrew, Admiral, earlier this week you had said after the first airstrike in Jabalia that it's obvious to us that Israel is trying to minimize civilian casualties. Now that you've had more time to see and assess the situation there, would you still say it's obvious that Israel is trying to minimize civilian casualties?
We see in the scope of their operations that they are making efforts to try to minimize civilian casualties. That does not mean, and I did not say, that they aren't still causing some, that their operations aren't still causing some. They are, and each one's tragic. Each one shouldn't happen, and we've been crystal clear about that.
Would you say with Jabalia specifically?
I'm not going to talk about a specific event.
But why not?
Because I'm not going to litigate an operational event that our military is not involved in almost real time. I'm just not going to do that, MJ. It would be inappropriate for me to do that from the White House podium.
But specifically on the question of minimizing civilian casualties, isn't an airstrike that targets a refugee camp or a densely populated civilian area, isn't that sort of the definition of not minimizing civilian casualties?
That is a question for the Israeli Defense Forces. They should have to answer questions about the decisions they're making on the battlefield and how they're doing their targeting and how they're doing their operations. We're not gonna throw it in from the sidelines here all the way in Washington, D.C. I'll just tell you again what I've said 100 times already. We're having daily conversations with our Israeli counterparts about their thinking, about their plans, about their strategy, about the execution of that strategy, and continuing to urge them to do everything they can to minimize civilian casualties.
So on this, you wouldn't weigh in, even though the president and everyone on down said that the minimizing civilian casualties is incredibly important, that it's something that he is talking to his counterpart about all the time.
What I said was, I'm not going to weigh in from the podium and make public, provide public analysis in near real time of operations that U.S. forces aren't involved in.